Okay, hello world. This is Prince. You're now tuned into Prince in the City. I'm here at East Boston, Massachusetts, sitting inside Americano Espresso. And the man sitting next to me is running to be the next state representative of East Boston. His name is Scapicchio.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I got that right. It took me a long time to get that, but compared to my last name.
Right.
Anyways, he is a defense attorney for the Army Reserves. 14 years of service for the United States Army. He has 6 years of legal experience as a prosecutor, defense, labor, and counsel for the Soldiers' Home in Chelsea. Also, one thing to know that he's a Suffolk Law School Alum, okay? And he is a longtime resident here at East Boston, Massachusetts. So, Lou, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start off with introducing yourself and telling my audience why you're running for state representative.
So most recently from working at the Soldiers' Home in Chelsea, I've been working in state government for about the last year, since I got off active duty in the Army last January. And that's when the seat opened up, and that's when I decided to jump on it. I saw a real opportunity to get involved in a lot of the issues that I've seen in the Commonwealth and that are important to me, and to do some great things for East Boston. So I've had a lot of great experiences in the Army. I've had a lot of great experiences as an attorney, and I've gotten to work on so many different types of issues that I want to take what I've learned and bring that to the State House and represent the people of East Boston.
Great. So what makes you qualify for this position then?
So certainly, if one of the things that I heard recently was, if you want to get something done right, hire a veteran.
Okay.
So if you're going to hire someone to represent other people, what better than a veteran attorney?
Okay.
So an Army attorney. I understand the job of what a state representative needs to do. And
right.
From working in state government, I've seen a lot of the issues. So I feel like that makes me the most qualified for this position.
Great, man. So what led you to run for state representative, especially right now?
So, from being back home for about a year now, since getting off active duty, and then again from working in state government, it's weird. I grew up in East Boston my whole life. I started here as a kid, and I went to school here. And the only time I've been away has been my time on active duty. So it's kind of strange, but that was over the last 4.5, close to 5 years, and the East Boston's changed a lot.
Yes.
So over the last year, I've really gotten to meet a lot of the new people that have come to East Boston and seen a lot of the issues that were here that maybe weren't here, when I left, or that have developed in East Boston, and to see what the issues are in East Boston. There are a lot going on right now. A very exciting time for East Boston. So I felt like I was in the right place, and I had the right experience, and it was the right time. And when the spot opened up, I jumped on it.
Great, man. So tell me, what are your 3 biggest issues that you are advocating for as a next state rep for East Boston that my audience out there should remember?
Absolutely. So I think the first one that everyone's talking about right now is the development of East Boston. And I think over the next 5 years or so, we're in this little window where East Boston is really going to become what it's going to be probably forever, certainly for the foreseeable future. We have great opportunities here, both on our waterfront and in Suffolk now, to do some really exciting things and some really important development for East Boston. And if we do it right, East Boston can remain the neighborhood type atmosphere that I've grown up in and that I want East Boston to remain. And if we do it wrong, it can kind of turn into the extension of the airport that everyone's afraid of.
Okay.
So I definitely don't want that to happen. Development is definitely the biggest one, and I'm going to push for more permanent style housing. I want to push for some entertainment value to East Boston, which was severely lacking at this point. So certainly the development. And that leads to affordability issues in East Boston too, which I really want to work on. Second one is safety and security issues. From my time in the military and as a prosecutor, I feel like I can get to work on that right away with our police forces, and certainly to deal with the threats that Massachusetts is facing. Unfortunately, it's just that type of world that we live in right now, and that we do have a lot of issues to work on there, and I feel like I can do that right away. And then the third is veterans issues. From being a veteran myself and from working with the veterans at the home, and while I was on active duty, I saw a lot of the issues that veterans face, and I feel like I'm the only one who really understands what it's like to be on active duty or be a soldier and go through what they go through on a daily basis, and I know what they need, when they come home. Right. So those are the 3 issues I really want to work on.
And just briefly, because you were just telling me about it earlier, about the Soldiers' Home in Chelsea. Just briefly tell me what's it about and why it's so special to you.
So the Soldiers' Home is a wonderful place. It's been around since right after the Civil War. It's that old. And some of the buildings there were built right after the Civil War. It was built again for soldiers. We didn't know what it was called at the time, but really soldiers with PTSD to have a place to go and stay with other soldiers to reacclimate to society when they came home broken and they needed some more time to get back to work and school and everything. And it's been there ever since. So right now it's a state agency that falls under the Department of Veteran Services, which falls under EOHHS. Health and Human Services, which is the biggest state agency. It actually encompasses about 50% of the state budget. So I've gone to see a lot of the state issues while I've been working there. And we have two facilities. We have the dormitory facility, which houses about 200 veterans. They spend $10 a day. It's a place for them to live. We have activities for them. We feed them. Great place for recently homeless or people trying to get back on their feet to live. And then we have the long-term care facility. It has about 150 residents. It's basically a nursing home for a lot of our older veterans. We have some World War II veterans that are still living there. An absolutely fantastic place, taking care of some of our guys.
All right, well, thank you. Hey, thank you so much for your service.
Absolutely, thank you.
So tell me, let's get into some pressing issues here in East Boston. One being, is really apparent to see, the snow.
Yes.
This has been a groundbreaking snow season in Boston, but for me, especially from a guy from all the way from California.
Right.
So, and all people from everywhere have been complaining about the lack of service, efficiency, MBTA breaking down.
Yes.
So tell me, as a next state representative, what will you do to assure the people of East Boston of effective snow removal?
Absolutely. So I think, the snow removal was one symptom of a bigger problem. And we talked about this earlier, that it's really about the, lack of prioritization of where we spend our resources and the lack of concern about our infrastructure. I think the snow removal, the MBTA have been really glaring examples of us not prioritizing properly our infrastructure and our problems and recognizing a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. And we saw that we didn't take care of the MBTA, we weren't prepared with the right equipment for the snow removal right away, and that led to the issues that we ran into. And that cost people money, cost people time, and it was a problem really for the whole Commonwealth. So it's all about prioritization.
Right.
From working in state government, I've seen where we're very inefficient with our spending and where we don't prioritize properly, where we concentrate. So what I want to do when I am elected is to bring that experience and that, my ideas about where our priorities need to be. And certainly our priorities need to be on the daily activities of our citizens and what really affects them on a day-to-day basis. They need public transportation. They need the roads to be open after storms like this. So nothing in this was really not predictable. Stuff like this, we could have seen this coming, and we didn't prioritize and spend our money properly, and that's what really came up and kind of bit us on this one.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, hopefully next year we'll get it right this time.
Yes,
okay.
Right?
All right. So the next question is diversity. As you can see, we have a huge diversity here in East Boston. It's burgeoning probably every day. Every hour, every minute. I'm really exaggerating.
Right.
But my thing is this. I've been here for 3 years, and I see a great presence of the Latino community here. And I feel there's a great rift between them as well as the office of the state representative. So I would like to know from you, what will you do to close the gap between the office and the community here in East Boston, and what will you do for, I guess, diversity here in general?
Sure. I think, like I said before, there's really two jobs a state representative has. You are going to represent, everyone on Beacon Hill, and you're going to write laws and all that. But really, what's more important is the day-to-day activity of being a community leader, being a community elected official that needs to bring their community together.
Right.
And whoever gets elected, they are a stronger voice on Beacon Hill if the community behind them speaks with one voice, and if they are together and they have more people behind them. That's what makes them a stronger advocate. So whoever gets elected needs to reach out to the different community leaders. The best part about this campaign is I have had the opportunity to meet with a lot of community leaders in the Latin community and with a lot of the other ethnic areas that I hadn't had the chance to meet before. And I think a lot of times they do feel disenfranchised, that their voice isn't being heard.
Yeah.
So whoever does get elected needs to reach out to those folks and make sure that you bring the issues that you're working with to them to get their opinion and make them know that their voice is going to be heard by them and that their opinion does matter and their votes matter. And that will make them more involved, and that makes the community better, and that brings everyone together. It makes it a more prosperous and fun environment to live in.
Great. And the last pressing issue, which is actually a personal issue of mine, is the littering here in East Boston, the continual visibility of trash on the streets. I've been here for 3 years, Lou, okay? And I have seen trash, and nothing has been done since I've been here. And I'd like to know, what is your plan of action when you do become state representative of East Boston to clean the streets of East Boston and condone littering on the streets? Do we need more trash cans? What do we need to get it done?
So, like I said, we have the right rules in place, and we're not enforcing them, and I think that's the biggest problem. And we need to let people know that this is not okay, and it's not okay for you to treat your community this way, and to throw your stuff on the street without following the rules, or put it into a trash can, and doing it the right way. And it just makes the community look bad. And East Boston is the gateway to Massachusetts, and it's the first impression. When people get off a plane, get off a boat or something, it's in East Boston, and we're the first thing that they see. And if the first thing that they see is trash all over the place, they're going to say, this isn't a community where I want to move, or I want to start a business, or I want to raise a family. They're going to say this is a community of people who don't care about where they live. Getting everyone involved in their community to buy into their community will also, it really makes them want to do this on their own rather than just punishing them. You know what I mean? You can tax them to death and you can give them tickets to death, but if they don't care about where they live, then they're not going to take care of it. So you really have to reach out to those people on an individual basis and say, this isn't what East Boston stands for. If you're going to live here, you're going to be our neighbors. We want to take care of you, but you got to help take care of us as well.
Great message out there. Yes. And hey, I'm going to hold you to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Please
so
I'm
not going to go away on this issue.
Whoever gets elected is going to work for you, so you let us know what we're doing.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so now I'm going to take this time to take questions from the Twitterverse, and I got 2 questions that I have been treading on my site, which I asked the previous candidate. And this question comes from Kevin Frank, and he asks, how can we make sure that development along the waterfront benefits the people who already live in East Boston?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Frank, for the question. So this goes to that overarching question of how to keep East Boston affordable, because we don't want to price out the people that already live here through this development. It's such a nice gem on the harbor and everything that
it is.
It's beautiful. And everyone knows that there's going to be some high-end development that happens there that will increase the rates for people in the surrounding areas. So the way that you take care of that really is, first of all, you make them have the mixed housing that in those developments and follow the rules that are already in place for certain percentages of affordable housing in those buildings, and hold them to that. The other thing too is to help the people in the surrounding areas by keeping property taxes at a rate that they can still afford, and not let it jump up too high too fast on them. Certain laws and certain things that I've talked about passing if I'm elected is to first of all incentivize the developers to have more affordable housing, not just the minimum that's on the law, but really to tax incentivize them to have more affordable housing, which will keep rates down. The same thing is the property taxes in the surrounding buildings, to keep those rates down, to either forego the property tax for new developments for a while, and to make sure that property taxes can't increase too much too fast, and put a cap on how much your property taxes can go up every year. I think that'll help people to absorb really the impact of increased rates. And I also think that savings will be passed to not only the condos for prices and how to buy and everything in East Boston, but for those who rent, for those who own the buildings that they're renting from, keep their property taxes down so that they don't have to pass that increased rates onto their renters.
Okay, great, great. And also my last question, Twitter question, comes from John FPC, and he asked this question. What is your plan to help the middle class stay in Eastie with the rapidly rising housing costs?
Well, thank you for that question, John. It kind of goes to that same issue. Whoever gets elected really does have to have an idea about what they want East Boston to be. They have to have a plan about what they want East Boston to be. And certainly I want East Boston to remain a viable, not only a viable, but a really enticing place for middle class families to live and raise a family. And that goes to a lot of different things. You have to make sure that there are schools, you have to make sure that it's safe, and you have to make sure that that it's affordable to live here. So all those things I talked about incentivizing the right types of developments in East Boston need to happen. And then again, to keep rates down, that you pass that savings and you pass those incentives on to folks that rent or that are going to buy. So that the right developments happen, that there is affordable housing, and then the property taxes don't go up so high that has to be passed on to people who rent.
Okay, great, great. So those are my Twitter questions. And so before we end this show, take at least 1 minute to tell my audience out there why they should vote for you.
I think if you compare myself to the other candidates, you are going to see that no one can really match the life experience that I've had. I've been to a lot of different places. I've worked on a lot of different issues. Certainly the Army has given me a way of thinking and a way of life that I think works really well in government, and I think really works well, has made me a good leader. From being an officer in the Army, being enlisted, also from being an attorney, really gives you an idea about the legal issues that people face on a daily basis. So certainly be able to do the job as a state representative right away. And also just my love of East Boston. I don't have any affiliation with any sitting politicians right now, so my only loyalty to anyone is just the people of East Boston, to my family, my friends, and my neighbors. The only thing I care about is what is in the best interest of East Boston, and every decision that I make will be based on what I think is in the best interest of East Boston. And I'll bring those issues to the residents listen. Everyone will have a voice with me, and that's why I think I'll be the most effective representative in East Boston.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I haven't said this before. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So tell me, where can my audience follow you, and also when do they need to vote?
Yeah. So first tonight, if anyone is available, we're going to have an open forum at the East Boston High School at 5:30 this evening. So please join us. All the candidates will be there. You can follow me on Twitter at Scapicchio. You can also check out my website, LouForStateRep.com, and also follow us on Facebook.
Okay, great. So is there a website they can go on?
So www.LouForStateRep.com, and then certainly find me on Facebook and read more about my positions on the issues.
Okay, great. And that's it. That's the end of my show. So this is Lou. This is Prince. This has been Prince in the City. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, guys, be good and stay classy.
Vote March 3rd.
All right.
Thank you, folks.